Well, yes, I'm in New Zealand still, and I'm laying in bed in this picture that I think I'm going to try and use with, if I have used it, a picture of a hot air balloon from my window. I've just taken at this moment. Gosh, it's drifted off to the left now, and they usually drift straight over the house, in other words, up in the picture you're looking at. But it's just... Yeah, I think he's managed to go up and get himself down again the other side of the lake. I'm not sure. Can't see that old picture now because it's out of my view. What's that got to do with it? Nothing at all. Something amazing about hot air balloons, isn't it? It's a bit like the steam train. It's an incredible invention, device. Just hot air can lift you right up into the sky. An ability to fly without any, machinery, mechanical device. Well, you could say it is a device. Of course, there's something that generates the heat from whatever the fuel is they use. And you just drift. You can't really steer it. Well, perhaps they can to some extent choose which wind current they're in, but very difficult to steer indeed. Got to take what comes. Well, it seems that from our point of view, doesn't it? I don't know if you're used to these things. I'm not. I've never been up in one, but I wouldn't, from my point of view, foolishly risk my life to doing so. It's a pleasure I can do without. But you may be an avid hot air balloonist, and bless you. I hope you survive with a long life. I got distracted on where my conversation has led me, haven't I? But life is astonishing. Just like suddenly seeing a hot air balloon and it's suspended in space up there, in the air, of course, in fact. And life's full of amazing curiosities and fun, really. Some of them seem meaningful and others don't. And it depends on your life situation, I suppose, accordingly. You may go through your whole life without being religious at all. And I was certainly of such before my mid-20s. You may, on the other hand, be brought up in some religious faith and possibly need desperately to shift to your own personal faith. But may not be. Perhaps you're very happy with, just what your family has had. And it's a great blessing to you. Wow, that's just wonderful, isn't it? Bless you. And you are obviously blessed. Life is incredibly varied. We're here, aren't we? I think, as observers, but to great purpose, because what we see and experience transforms us. And we can find a longing in us to be transformed in the right way, but we can do much to help that by realigning the way we're going, what we're noticing, what we remember, what we practice. So we enter into our own future, our own development. We enter into it. We become part of its creation and direction. Life is an astonishing phenomenon, isn't it? And we're experiencing it. You see sometimes, like your pet, especially your dog, he's sort of looking at you, knowing he's amazed at what is and can't fathom it, but so willingly trots along with you and enjoys the walk, enjoys the day, and then mindlessly drifts off into it. We are like that, and well, perhaps less mindless, and perhaps at times too mindful. We should be perhaps more Eastern and with an inner peace observing it, letting the experience transform us, of course. In fact, being intimately aware of such and benefiting the more from this astonishing experience of life, which I choose to believe our loving God has given us because he loves us. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Halfway through re-listening to this, I've got it, of course, the parallel. Religion seems like just hot air to a secular person. Yeah, but look what hot air can do, mate. That thing's hovering up there in space, way above the lake. No wings, just hot air. A very real experience. Oh, to my mind, a magnificent experience where you look down on the lake and the houses and that part of Hamilton, New Zealand, and the sunshine and the morning air. It's only 6:15 now in the morning. Beautifully sunny. It must be absolutely lovely up there, and you feel exhilaration of, well, unless you're used to it, I suppose. You may be a hot air balloonist, a professional. Are there such things? But do you see what you took to be just the hot air of away with the fairies religion could be a life experience. A very real reality for you. Be careful of what you dismiss out of hand. They can be absolute treasures that transform your whole eternity. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that the sheer excitement of life? And suddenly, in a moment of time, all is utterly transformed. And a life eternal that you wouldn't have dreamt existed is suddenly your life eternal. Now, from nowhere. And you could have just passed it by. not even conscious of it. What miracle rescued you from being in such delusion of not knowing that this was to hand? You know, Jesus says the kingdom of God is at hand. It's now, it's within reach. In fact, further on, he's talking to his disciples and says it's within you. It doesn't come with observation. Oh. In fact, it's already there by the grace and goodness of God. Because he loves you. Because he's your dad. Look, I'm obsessed with this message. I know it. But it's because I think it will bless you as it has blessed me. And I want you to have it with all my heart. Like any other human being, I can't honestly bear the suffering of all the life I see around me as I move through life. And I want with all my heart that they be rescued. How much more your God that loves you, that made it all for his wonderful purpose to have, I was going to say the best family in the world, but way beyond the world. Family of God, host of heaven, your family, your God, you. Bless you. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Well, that's astonishing. I realised that the simple clause, hot air, I couldn't spell the air in my phonetic repertoire, you know, a series of sounds. I don't have quite, I tried to spell it Hoter, hot, but of course that still looks like English spelling, hotair, so to speak. And I wanted the sound air. I didn't know how to emphasize the air and the sort of mild r sound, air, hot air. And if I put it down as ER, it looks like hot air, hot air, error. It's close. But I actually need another vowel, which I haven't got in my list to date, even though I've been playing with it for a few years now, of course. So I've created one, and the obvious one to create, to keep it in keeping with what's familiar if you're an English speller, AI. So that's my new vowel that I've added to my list. And But do you see, this alone illustrates how suddenly you find things have come out of the blue, which you hadn't dealt with before, and which in some sense gives you a step forward. Okay, this is in a trivial way, I'm just talking about my phonetic experiment, if you like, with spelling, which no doubt seems an absolute mystery to people who look at the titles of my videos, although it should become self-teaching. Just looking at them, you've got an idea what many of the words mean, despite them spelt in such a strange way. It's not quite so strange. And that's why I choose AI in this particular... AI. Goodness, I just realised what I've said. Artificial intelligence. AI. So I won't explore that at the minute. That's not Perhaps I should. Hang on. No, I'll deal with that in another video, perhaps another recording. Suffice to say here, surprise things can happen in your life. And if you see them as because of the grace and the love of God for you, you get a tremendous blessing in interpreting it, in understanding it in that way. In other words, you need to be mindful of the possibility of God from your limited point of view, and it will open a vast vista. That's a nice bit of alliteration, isn't it? A vast vista of life abundance that you never dreamt of. Just like being in a hot air balloon. Bless you. Be sensitive to God in your life. That alone utterly transforms your whole being. And I might say, in case you're in some doubt, in an extremely happy and blessed way. I am come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Life eternal. They're the words of Jesus in the story. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.